tuning your cluster's performance. Get it up, the broad sketches are there, but there are a lot of fine-grained little settings. The one that comes to mind is you can disable CPU hyperthreading. You can also tell your instances to use Elastic Fabric Adapter. And I recommend that you do that as you can, because if you can, it's low latency, it's high performance.
We've got a lot of material that we've written and produced about Elastic Fabric Adapter. Some videos containing some really gorgeously talented people. Now, when we talk about networking, you can speed things up by having all of your instances inside what we call a placement group. Placement group is really our conceptual idea of, say, a rack or a block of racks. So it puts them within this same very high bisection segment of a network, which makes them really close together. And that's good, Matt, because the speed of light isn't just a good idea.
It's the law. So let's see what else. So another thing with, again, just a single setting, you can turn on memory-aware scheduling in Slurm. And that's really helpful if some of the jobs in your or your end user's workloads are RAM hungry, but others aren't. And the interface to that ends up being you turn on memory-aware scheduling. Slurm now knows about the amount of memory on each node, and it lets you treat that memory as a schedulable resource, just like the CPU cores are schedulable.
What about software licensing? Can ParallelCluster help with that?
Matt, there's a lot of government customers using commercial codes, and we know that these things are usually charged out on a per core or per node license kind of basis.
Yeah. So ParallelCluster, you can configure it to work with most licensing schemes. It's not always batteries included. I'm not going to obfuscate that. But like standard Slurm licensing is configurable right in the cluster. But if there are additional things, you have to have a license server or whatever.
We got a great video made by one of our solution architects, Brian Shervin, who showed how one of his customers is actually using resource management inside Slurm to manage a license pool that's distributed between their on-prem cluster and their cloud cluster, which is a really cool solution. So I'll put a link to that in the top of the screen.
Yeah, you guys hit the nail on the head. The government customers, they run the software that has non-standard licensing requirements. So next question for you. So a lot of our customers use GPUs for raw compute or AI/ML applications, and we all know GPUs can be a little bit tricky. Does ParallelCluster have features aimed at GPU support?
There's a substantial amount of GPU usage amongst ParallelCluster customers. So there's two main capabilities. First, so ParallelCluster comes with official kind of ParallelCluster optimized AMIs. So those optimized AMIs have NVIDIA drivers installed, plus the support software for those GPU cards, and our instance configuration automations and processes help make sure that the GPU instances launch ready to take advantage of fast networking. So EFA, but also stuff like the nickel driver, stuff like selecting the proper network interface, et cetera. So that's one feature. And the second is that ParallelCluster also has this relatively new feature called GPU health checks. And what goes on here is ParallelCluster checks the status of the GPU before running a job on it. If it detects that the GPU is unhealthy, it stops that job from running, it replaces the node, and at the same time reschedules that job to run on another GPU queue. And this really helps prevent costly and annoying job failures that we know happen when GPUs can fail unexpectedly. And there's a blog and a tech short about this out relatively recently.
And I'll point out, one of the coolest things about doing this kind of activity inside the cloud in this environment is you're really getting a break-fix service that's built into your ParallelCluster that's instant, that's near instant, right? If you had a broken GPU in a node in your on-prem data center, you're going to have to do a service call with your hardware technicians who are going to have to schedule the time to come out, test it, replace it for you. In this environment, ParallelCluster is going to do the test and fix for you eject that GPU from the cluster, and get you busy on a new one within a few minutes.
If you're enjoying these videos, please give us a like and consider subscribing to the channel so that we can keep making more to help you understand how the cloud works and to show you new ways to help all the scientists and engineers around you who use HPC every day to do amazing things. It's what gets us motivated as well. See you next time.